All right, hey people, it's time for a few things actually. We've got the big brake job, all-inclusive information on everything about your brakes, but a couple of things I noticed here, some coolant spray and some awesome headlights. So I thought we'll give you some quick feedback on that and whether you need to worry about that or not. Firstly, the headlights, we did the headlight coating back in January. It's June now. They're still looking just like the day we did that, so happy days. Of course, that's what we're expecting, that's what's going to happen. Now, what's this mess here? It's not the water pump leaking down there. It's just simply because I've topped it up. It's probably a little bit over full. When the engine gets hot, it pushes up and then the excess comes out. That's why the full line is down there. So if you put a little bit extra in, it'll probably push out and then it hits there. There's meant to be a little 90-degree elbow rubber section. It was always missing on this vehicle. I should replace it. Try and keep it in mind next time I'm getting some bits and pieces. And then when that comes out, it'll drip straight down there to nowhere, instead of straight onto the seam and then run around the back and then get blown by the fan and sprayed all front of the engine. So don't worry about that. Now, whether it's in this video or the videos afterwards, we're going to do a brake fluid flush. We're going to get these, what looks like patrol wheels and tyres. They're not, they're Prado 150 wheels. And they're tyres, they're our rough nut set of tyres, hand-me-down 7-8-year-old tyres that we use for our harder off-road tracks where we don't mind slashing a tyre open. We're trying to, but no luck so far. Bugger all sidewall damage. It's actually looking pretty good, even though the wheels, you can see the wheels cop it. Told you, we're trying hard, but the tyre's still looking good, right? Tough tyres, KO2s, that's what they're for. We're going to put lsiauto.com.au rotors. We've got the rear rotors, we've got the front rotors, and of course we've got the genuine pads from them also. What are we going to do first, people? Front or rear? I might get the rear done first because the handbrake is terrible. The handbrake's coming through the roof. It's been coming down the roof for ages. Look at these tyres, how chopped out. They're just absolutely gone. These are done tens of thousands, probably 100,000 Ks, but tens and tens of thousands of off-road. There's chunks out of them. They're worn down to nothing, and they still, believe it or not, they don't slide around in the wet. I can get a bit of understeer from the front ones if I go way too fast in the wet, but you know, definitely asking too much of the tyres for that to happen. Now, back to the subject, brakes. So the handbrake comes through the roof. We had a bit of an emergency situation quite a few months back where the vehicle stalled. I didn't know at the time that it stalled. There was obviously the vacuum pumped out of the booster, whatever happened. We're rolling backwards. The brakes weren't working. Nothing was working. And I went, holy cow, and just in time pulled the handbrake, and tell you what, it went all the way up to the plastic trim. So make sure your handbrake's in check, and I haven't adjusted it since. So I've been pretty careful with that. It's rare for it to stall, but when you're on a really steep hill under a lot of load and you back your accelerator off, it is possible, because guess what? That's what happened. So beware of that and make sure your handbrake / emergency brake is working and in check. So what we're going to do, we're not going to adjust the lazy way in the vehicle. We're going to adjust it down here. So this is what we're going to do. We'll do the rear first. So I don't know what's going to fit in a video. There probably could be 5 or 6 videos on this. We'll just see how we go. Try and keep them to 10 minutes or maybe some longer ones. But either way, subscribe, turn the bell on so you don't miss any. If you like the videos, hit the like button. And then even if you don't subscribe, if you haven't got a Google account, then they will pop up on your YouTube when you open it up, whatever anyway, because apparently that's how it works. Now, let's get this show on the road. So what we're going to do, we're going to raise the vehicle up. You can see it's ready to go. It's on the hoist. We're going to get all the wheels off. We're going to remove the rear calipers. We've got some videos on brakes already. There's a playlist there. I think it's called Brakes or something like that. Brakes. It's probably called Brakes. Go onto our YouTube channel, 4x4 Diesel. Just have a look around. You'll find playlists. Click on that. Go down. You'll find the one on brakes. So wheels will come off. Calipers will come off. Rotors will come off. We'll do an inspection of the shoes. If they're okay, we'll then clean it up. We'll adjust it. Have a look around, make sure everything looks all right. Once we're happy with the handbrake adjustment, of course, that'll be with the new rotors. We'll put the new LSI horsepower rotors on there. And once that's all happy, the caliper will go back on, the new pads in the caliper, step by step, and we'll get the proper Prado wheels and tyres, which are KO2s as well, but they're in a bit better condition, more like sort of what this one's like, you know, something half decent, not too bad. A few years old, but certainly better than this one. We call them the winter tyres. We'll put the winter tyres on. These are the summer tyres. Anybody that's got some old 265 70 17s that are old as, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, time to get rid of them, half worn, just let me know, because I'm always chasing those. If you've got a couple that you want to donate, and we'll put them on the vehicle, and we'll keep trying to slide around in the wet. We'll keep trying to slash a tyre open, because that's the idea. We've got them coming in for free as spares, and people can complain, but they work for us, so happy days. Of course, a road tyre will work better. Let's get on with this brake job, eh? So we've got all the wheels off. We've got other videos, like I said, so check the playlist. But what I'm going to do for this job, because I am changing the pads, even though they're not too bad, you can see they're about half worn, probably 40% worn. So I'll keep these because, you know, it's like, I don't know why I do, but anyway, old spares. These are the Bendix ones we were trying out. Don't really have a problem with them, although they don't have as much friction as I would like. So they're not dusty. They seem to be lasting longer than, you know, the old ones, some of the Bendix. This is like a trial set. We've got 4 sets of front and rears. A few people got a free set. Any of those people that watch this video, it'd be good if you just let me know how they're going in your opinion. But yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to push the way we normally do, just using a flat blade screwdriver, DIY style. Gently push the, without, the key thing is to not damage the boot on the piston there with any screwdrivers anywhere near there, or the surface of the disc. You don't want to scratch this. You're just on the edge of the disc, right? Whatever you need to do, these should go in really easily. I shouldn't exaggerate, you could just about push it in with your finger, but you need to get in between. You can just push and pull the calipers in a bit, get them moving, get a sort of blunt old flat blade, and just gently get in there and work it in there. And you can just gently, it'll take me like 10 seconds to push that piston back in. Then I'm going to take these 2 bolts off from memory. I think they're 17mm, but it's been a while, so I could be wrong. Once we got that caliper piston pushed in, we just take that caliper off and just sit it up here on top of the diff. Notice with our bump stop, we're not hitting on our bump stops because we've got some decent 329s in there, right? And obviously full flex situation, it would touch. You might see the other one later, but see, off topic stuff here. And then we've got 2 more bolts that we've got to take out. One of them, this one here, probably 19mm, if I remember correctly, and another one at the bottom down here, right? Same sort of thing. And that'll take off this bracket here that retains the rotor from coming off. Then we can take the disc rotor off carefully. Make sure your handbrakes are released. If you've over adjusted it, you might need to get through the holes and back off the adjustment a bit, but this one should come off, but we'll soon see. We won't video the whole thing. I'm mainly giving you the rundown so you know what I'm doing, and we'll show you the important parts. And try and remember, this is the thing, I've been doing this for decades. I can't really fit in a 10-minute video or a half-an-hour video the information you need to get your brakes done yourself safely and cover every single thing. So as I always say, brakes, it's a matter of life and death. It's dangerous. Don't touch it if you don't know what you're doing. But if you think you know what you're doing, keep watching the video because you might learn something here. Or if you don't know, watch the video and start learning, but it doesn't mean you can go and do your brakes yet, okay? So that's for you to work out. I'm telling you, if you're not qualified without the experience, it can be very dangerous. Some people put pads in back to front. Yep, we've seen that. We've had disc rotors come in that the pad's worn through the disc rotor to the ventilation. Yep, absolutely true, right? So you're looking right there at it, probably more on the piston side on the inside, and you get the rotor off and you're looking at the ventilation. It's like the rotor's worn away to nothing. It's like, didn't you hear that? Did you notice? No, you know, went to Woolworths, got a pack of donuts, and no, didn't hear a thing, you know. Anyway, it's obviously been like that a long time when that happens. So we'll get all this off, get it all apart, clean it up, and have a look at it. Right, so these bolts should be just about ready to lift out. There it is, there's one. Just put that somewhere where it's not going to get dirt and dust on it. Because technically that is your caliper slide. It's got grease on it and you want to keep it clean. I'm not too fussed about which one's which. Some people worry about, you know, which one's the top one and the bottom one. Then your caliper will come off. You can see, like I said, 10-second job pushing it back with the screwdriver. It's just so, these are one of the easiest brakes to change. What I tell you, just get your flat blade in there and just gently, always if you're levering, don't lever this way. I'm gonna give you the, you know, like that, because then you're pushing, putting a mark into there. So what you do, you just lever that way, and then the screwdriver is just over the edge. Nothing's ever going to go on that edge there, and you're not putting a lot of pressure anyway. So a bit of common sense, uncommon sense stuff. Right, so that's one of our pads for people that are not familiar. That's the backing plate, and that is the meat. So the meat, a lot of places will say once the meat is less than the backing plate, it's time to replace them. It's kind of, they're like half worn, to be honest, so that's wasting half your brake pads. But you do have to consider, and this is what I'm talking about, I'll include information that you won't get anywhere else perhaps, and that is that the brake pad material, it wears faster when it's hotter, and as that becomes thinner, the heat obviously, you know, anyway, it retains the heat better and it wears down faster as they get lower. So I'm just going to pop that one out anyway. We're going to continue with the important part. You can already see that the rotor's loose. It's what's called a full floating disc rotor, or hat type rotor, people like to call it, to keep it simple. Again, layman's terms, what do they call it, whatever that is. Anyway, and this should actually be the same size, I think. before, what I say, before 19, I always do that. Brakes are generally a lot of these sort of sizes. Right, but in this case, it is the same size, so you wouldn't even need to go and change sockets. Maybe this one down the bottom's a different size. So and you can see, yep, they need to be tight. How tight? Well, I'd say that was probably F tight. F's for fairly tight, okay? You thought I was going to do it, didn't you? Of course not. Fairly tight. Anyway, keep going. You get the bolts out, don't lose them. That's what they look like. Show you what the genuine looks like in case you want to, somebody's, you know the typical Toyota bolts. They're grey. They've got that coating on them. They're quality usually. You know, after the C word though, anything goes, to be honest. And the C word isn't the F word either, you know. I'm not even going to say it. You know what I'm talking about, yeah? It's got a 19 after it. What's going on here? What? This is a bit... And I'll tell you what, this always happens in videos. So that bottom bolt should just come out, but for some reason, it's got tight again, and it's not coming out yet. So, interesting. So clean them up, put some grease on them. Show you something else too. So you get a bit of rust. This thing gets a lot of dirt, dust, mud, and gets used off-road. It gets washed a lot too, so wash it all out afterwards, but there should be your normal anti-rotor clips that sit in there, so sometimes they can fall out or people will lose them and discard them, right? So they should be staying there. That's what you want to keep cleaning the holes there. That's your slide area. If you're rebuilding your caliper, you'd be going in there to clean those up. And then the rotor will just simply come off because you're not going to have any problems with adjustment. Remember what I said, part of the problem was the handbrake's not working too well. So we just pop that down there, and now what we need to do is get in there and give these a bit of an inspection. Wow, and one of them is quite low, and this is the problem you have with a lot of bloody off-roading and dirt and dust and mud. That's why you'll see me dodging bog holes all the time because, look, we're okay for now, but this one's getting quite low. Let's get down there and have a look. Right, so these are a pain in the butt to change, as you can see, because you've got the axle in the way covering the springs, so they are a pain in the butt. We've got videos on that. Now, good to know the spring retainers are still there, because sometimes they can go missing, especially when they're out of adjustment, and you're pulling, because in the whole lever you're pulling on with the handbrake and stuff, yes, things can start popping and slipping and all that sort of thing. Let's have a look what's going on here with the adjustment. Okay. Right, see around here, not much, but I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. Okay, so you can see when they're new, this is, how thick are they? They're kind of like, I'm going to say they're only about 4 or 5 mil. And see, as much as we wash it, see, you've still got this dirt in there. It's like sandpaper, right? So this one at this side, pretty good. You see the lines in them, right? That's the problem, right? Around here, that one's as good as new. And sometimes what you can do, if you really want the work, you can swap them around. But see how thin it's getting at that side? It looks really thin. But don't change them yet because they're still about 50%. So what we're going to do, we're going to adjust them up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a container, I'm going to get some water, I'm going to get some of my infamous King KD greaser. I'm going to give this a clean up, I'm going to blow it dry, and then I'm going to give the bottom some adjustment. I'm going to get the new rotors out, slip those over. There's nothing here to check if it's leaking. There's no wheel cylinders. It's not like your normal drum brakes. And I don't want any more work than I need. And some people are going to ask, can you change the studs? Look, at the end of the day, I can't remember if I've done a rear axle stud without pulling the axle out, but I reckon you could. It might be fiddly. Yeah? Bring it to the bottom. Bring it to the bottom. Ooh, don't know, right? You just need to be fiddly, you know, because you've got to line it up where there's a gap. So there's a gap in the shoe there. So that might, if you put that around to, trying to turn it at the moment, maybe not, but it might just go in there. I reckon once you hit that, loosen it up and angle it up and go into there, but you might need a magnet to get it through, and then getting the new one through it could be fiddly, and you know, obviously you're not going to be able to tap it in much, but when you tighten up the wheel nuts to spec nuts, it's going to pull in anyway. But the main thing is, don't trust people with your wheel nuts, because yeah, they snap them off as well, and it's hard to really find anyone you can trust consistently anywhere, because it's just butcherism, which is why we do what we do. So we'll continue doing it. I'm going to go clean up this stuff. You get the picture, don't you? You don't need to see me do that. I'm going to put a tray underneath. I'm going to put some spray degreaser over it. I'm going to, might even bring the water, pressure washer, get really crazy, clean things up, compressed air, blow it dry. When it looks decent again, get a new rotor out, slip it over the top, do some adjustment. You do it through this hole here. See that little adjustment wheel there, right? You just turn this in and out. You'll see when the thread gets longer. I'm not going to tell you which way because people move those around and it depends which side of the cart's confusing. So you turn it, and if it doesn't turn, take it off, clean it up, put some grease in it. See all the bonus tips? That's what we're doing here, right? The things that matter. Make sure everything works properly. Clean it, lube it if you need to. No lubrication needed here. It's just going to trap dust and everything. As much as we'd like to, you just need to keep it clean and dry. And you can actually see, look how clean they really are from staying out of all that stuff. But dust does get in. As you can see, it's just the nature of the beast, and it is just like sandpaper, right? So there you go. Keep it clean. So at this stage, I've just given a clean up. You can still, it's a bit wet. Now, I just want to say, when cleaning brakes, with me, it's water or not here. Don't do it near me unless it's going to involve water, right? So now you can do that and you won't even get dirty hands. So now you can work on your brakes and keep your hands clean. So now it's a gloves off job for the rest of the job, for the adjustment and the reassembly, because it's nice and clean. Everything's really happy. You like that? Beautiful. So this is the side that's a bit low, but it's got enough meat there. Worst case scenario, it goes metal to metal. You're going to hear it. It's not like you're driving, it's just your handbrake. Then you're going to need to get it sorted out pretty quickly. Make sure those clips are in good position there. So 10K degreaser, watered down, spray it on, bit of a brush around if you like, you know, brushing around here, and then rinse it off with water. We just put a drain chain underneath and catch it all, of course. And then look how nice and clean it all is in there, beautiful. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and get some lunch and let this all dry, and we'll come back to it later. But let's have a look at the other side, because we pulled that side apart as well. Let's do a bit of an inspection, eh? So over this side, what do we got? You're gonna see a mirror image, my guess. So the back one, see, you got fair bit of meat still, not full thickness but pretty close. And at the front, again, you can see it's starting to wear down on that side there, and that's the lowest point at the middle. So that's all normal, no dramas. If you do buy another set of shoes for this, don't throw out your old ones, because when you get your next set, that's what I'm trying to say to you, you can keep the good ones. So this good one, they're interchangeable to each side, left, right, front, back, from memory anyway. Hey, double check, don't trust me, I might forget stuff. You can see where I give it a quick brush and whatever. I'm not too worried it's going to get dirty again, but like I said, I can touch it now and keep the hands clean. You know, that's how I roll, mate. Doctor's hands, mate. Look at that, see? Anyway, it's a Prado hospital, so it's Dr. Prado, they said. Anyway, enough talking, you know what, and we're going to let this dry a bit more. We're going to have some lunch. I think we'll wrap this video up. People don't want videos that are too long, so subscribe, turn the bell on. You'll find the next video hopefully coming out after this one, that we put the rotors on, adjust the brakes up, and continue with this big brake job. We'll call it the big brake job part 1. How's that sound? All right, see ya.